I agree, man, that, the Bible would change so many times. I had the same exact question. Still do sometimes, But for me, I went back, you said like the Essenes. So, discovering that the Dead Sea Scrolls were in Qumran and the Essenes more, kind of inhabited Qumran. And it's even said that Jesus was more than likely born in a cave, and the manger was actually in a cave. It only says a manger, it doesn't say a cabin or nothing. And the mangers were known to be in caves because that's where the shepherds were, considering the Dead Sea Scrolls were found by a shepherd. Just kind of funny life because the Catholic Church tried to get rid of like the Book of Enoch and other things. They kind of enlighten us about this because it makes the Greek kind of aspect come into it. I believe the Hindu and stuff was a good thing. I believe it was our old teachings, though, believe it or not. Um, I believe it made you had to do all these hard requirements essentially through meditation and this and that to get to God or to obtain it, right? And then you had like the dissolve of Babylon going on during the time of Zoroaster and Abraham. It was like Zoroaster lived in South Abraham or South Babylon, and we know Melchizedek did, who taught Abraham, and we know that like before that you had like Hinduism essentially going on, like all the Hindu teachings back then, and so one of the cool things about that to me is like Zoroaster was telling people like, hey, we got to get away from having many gods and just remember there's one God above them all. That like, yeah, these are other gods, these other aspects have so much validity, but there's one God above them all, and our connection to that is what's going to be key if we truly want to become the children of God, because take our title back, that we're God's children, that we're not these physical entities bound by the world, right? So, then you get into like the Essenes because the Essenes are known as like speakers to angels, and we know that the Magi, who were teaching a lot of the people back then, were really similar in astrology. They were like some of the first astronomers. And to be honest with you, when I go back into the history of it, um, it would seem to be that Zoroastrianism came from somebody who was a Hindu learned elder, not just any type of learner, but was like an ascended master essentially. I believe the Sikhs themselves have like a great view too. Like they kind of were into a great prophecy. Um, but Jesus himself, I go with the Dead Sea Scrolls. If you're going to go with like Hebrew Bible back in the day, and then if you're going to go to the New Testament, well, Jesus said, I will send a spirit to you, and that will be your teacher, and he'll tell you the things that I've said, right? So he's telling us like we don't need a book, like it's within you. I've said it upon humanity. You all have the ability to feel that morally and understand what I'm trying to tell you. Love as I have loved you. And there's just certain things that resonate with your soul well. Because when people are like, oh, am I supposed to love everybody? Well, he tells the story of the Good Samaritan right afterwards. And he says, like, who would you say his brother is, right? It's the one who would take care of him the same way, or at least try to. Not the people just because he was related to him, because they walk right past him. And so, he's like, some people you have to treat as tax collector if, they don't want help or this or that. And then it says, you're supposed to go out of your way for other people. He shows us examples how to love. And he's got awesome ways. And I don't think, we were supposed to stop. He says, you can do these things in greater in my name. And in my name, he means like in the spirit of what I was doing. Like if you aim for righteousness or aim for what I was doing, you'll do greater things. And so it wasn't something that he was limiting, like only he can do it or only his sect. He tells us to be children of God, right? And so like that's a title everyone can hold. If there's only one God, then essentially everybody is a child under that. It's the God of no name, right? Because Father, for art thou in heaven, right? So you're not like in a physical place at a temple, any idol. It's everywhere. It's universal, right? Holy be thy name, which means like your name isn't some. It's holiness itself. The idea itself is what you are, right? So that's my idea.